Sparks panic as inclement weather engulfs Barbados. The Mangrove Pond landfill is being expanded, and in sports, rain holds up progress on day 2 of the second test.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Pearson Bowen. This is the CBC Evening News. Prime Minister Frendel Stuart is headed to St. Kitts tomorrow to attend this weekend's annual CARICOM Heads of Government Conference. There, he is scheduled to make his first address to CARICOM as Prime Minister during the opening ceremony at the Sir Cecil Jacobs Auditorium at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank in Basseterre. Other members of the Barbados delegation include Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Maxine McLean, Permanent Secretary in the Prime Minister's Office, Keith Franklin, Permanent Secretary Foreign Trade, Bentley Gibbs, and Permanent Secretary Foreign Affairs, Charles Burnett. CBC is sending a team to St. Kitts to cover the July the 1st to the 4th summit. They'll be filing comprehensive reports on the proceedings from start to finish. Well, immediately after that meeting, Prime Minister Stuart and other CARICOM heads will travel to Margarita, Venezuela for the 3rd Latin America and Caribbean Summit on Integration and Development. This meeting is scheduled for July the 4th until the 6th. Well, overcast skies today dumped heavy showers on Barbados. The inclement weather triggered the rumor mill on the social networks, indicating that tornadoes were expected to hit the island. Now we're hearing that a tropical wave is approaching. Our weather presenter, David Bess, is with us now. David, we need clarity on what happened today. Tornado or no tornado?
Well, good evening to you, Pearson. That was a rumor. No tornado. We have never at the airport issued a tornado watch or warning. As a matter of fact, this is how we do things at the airport. In the event of some emergency, the first persons we contact would be the persons of the emergency department, emergency management department. Then we give information to the press. So we do not put the information on the social media first. So if you see information on the social media first, it is, well, we're not saying that it is a hoax, but you need to check with the official, the Met Office or the CBC, VOB, any of the press. We do not put the information on the press. Now, we don't want a situation where when we put out the real thing, then people do not take it, the information as credible. So we're urging you, if the information comes on the on Facebook or the BB network, check with the Met Office, check with the news media, and verify the information. It indeed caused a panic across Barbados today, and we don't want that situation to reoccur. Jason?
Well, David, thanks. Part of that panic, though, was because of high winds, and now you're hearing there's a tropical wave on our doorsteps.
Yes, there's a tropical wave on our doorstep, and these tropical waves all have unique features. Most of the activity associated with this tropical wave is ahead of the axis, and already some of the cloud is on our doorsteps and generating cloudy skies and scattered showers. And I'll give you all the details later.
All right. Thank you, David. More details to come. In other news tonight, the mangrove landfill is being expanded as opposed to a plan calling for its closure. Environment and Drainage Minister Dr. Dennis Lowe says the cell now in use is going out of commission soon, hence the decision to build cell 4, now under construction. Speaking at a award ceremony at Bees Recycling, Dr. Lowe said the landfill is full and it will take at least 2.5 years to finalize government's waste-to-energy approach to solid waste management.
It has to be closed because of the continued emission of greenhouse gases. And if Barbados is going to be able to benefit from climate change arrangements in terms of funding of projects and programs, it has to be able to manage the emission of greenhouse gases. That's one of the reasons why it has to be managed. The other reason is that it is terribly infectious to the environment. And we cannot continue to allow the emissions of greenhouse gases over a small land space because it will have a detrimental impact on the population.
Dr. Lowe says government cannot continue to build landfills and has already started on its plan to divest solid waste from these facilities.
We are building a new administration building there at site for the housing of the Sanitation Services Authority. We are building also a leachate plant to collect the leachate as a result of the storage of existing landfill matter. We are undertaking a gas-to-energy project to trap the gas at the existing landfill and to convert that into energy as well, which we hope will help power some of the operations at the landfill.
This country's leading recycling company could be at a new and more spacious location by mid-next year. Minister of the Environment and Drainage, Dr. Dennis Lowe, has announced that government is assisting Bees Recycling in relocating from Cane Garden to Vaucluse St. Thomas. He was speaking at a ceremony during which Bees Recycling recognized 8 hotels, 4 motor companies, and 2 individuals for their recycling efforts. Dr. Lowe says the company has assisted in divesting thousands of tons of solid waste from the landfill and is deserving of government support.
I was pleased to learn upon inquiry that the Inter-American Development Bank has agreed to fund that relocation effort, and the government has also agreed and is in the process of finalizing the purchase of land at Vaucluse where Bees Recycling will be housed.
Cabinet has approved a management plan for Bridgetown and its historic garrison, which have been just designated a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. UNESCO is the United Nations educational, scientific and cultural organization headquartered in France. Culture Minister Stephen Lashley says the heritage site will be the responsibility of several ministries, which are already maintaining Bridgetown and its environs.
The management plan brings together in one document and one action plan a very holistic and focused approach based on international standards as set by UNESCO. So what I can say to you is that much of what we are required to do are not necessarily new inventions. What we're doing is that we are managing it now in a more strategic way and in accordance with the international standards which are now required for Barbados to proceed with. But of course it will be public sector driven. But notwithstanding that, of course, there will be agencies, NGOs, for example, the Barbados Museum and Historical Society and other entities of a private sector nature that will be very crucial to the actual implementation of the plan.
And the chairman of the Barbados World Heritage Bid Committee wants a local chapter of the UNESCO World Heritage Youth Path set up. Mark Cummins explains that it provides an opportunity for young people to become involved in heritage and to increase their awareness about preserving heritage sites for the future. He also wants the documents used in the successful Bridgetown and Garrison bid to be put in schools as educational tools. The documents include a dossier and management plan, all of which, Mr. Cummins says, were completed primarily by local consultants.
These documents, especially this dossier, should be placed in every secondary school, and I don't mean to be placed in the office of a principal, but this document really needs to be placed in the secondary schools and used by the history teachers, geography teachers and social studies teachers. I don't think that there is no place in Barbados where you can pick up a document that has the body and quality of information as this dossier in any one place. You'll probably have to read volumes and volumes and volumes. This is truly great information.
Airport officials from Barbados and Latin America are currently participating in a series of seminars looking at the development of airport master plans. The 3-day sessions are being facilitated by the Airports Council International for Latin America and the Caribbean. The Council's objective is to achieve a secure, stable, efficient and environmentally compatible airport system among its members. Director of the Barbados Civil Aviation Department, Anthony Archer, says an airport master plan establishes a strategy for long-term development.
The objective is, in this formulation of a master plan, is to guide the development of an airport over a specific period of time. Now, as you, the participants, will learn during the course of the next 3 days, the plan will incorporate such aspects as aviation and commercial forecasting, airfield physical planning and layout, facilities requirements, land use planning, environmental and social assessment and impact, commercial and capital development, and environmental and social impact.
Well, Chief Operating Officer at the Grantley Adams International Airport, Joseph Johnson, says the timing of the seminar is perfect as Barbados is in the process of preparing its own 20-year airport master plan.
The entire master plan project would ensure that within the next 20 years we have strategic plans with respect to how we are going to develop the airport both physically and commercially, and it should do us and the country good in terms of making certain that we have a real plan, blueprint with respect to developments in and around the Grantley Adams International Airport.
We'll take a break here, but 3 men, 2 Barbadians and a Vincentian are in police custody following the discovery of over 1,000 pounds of marijuana on the coast of St. John. Police have not yet released the names of the men. The drug squad, in association with the Regional Security System, the Barbados Defence Force and the Coast Guard, conducted the operation between last night and early this morning in an area called Broadley. There, in a bushy area, they found 24 taped packages of cannabis weighing 1,370 pounds. The drug squad also conducted an operation at Jezreel St. Philip yesterday morning, where 140 marijuana plants were found growing in 3 separate locations. The plants ranged from 6 inches to 7 feet tall. The 2011 fishing season has been described as the worst in a long time by scores of fisherfolk. This assessment from Public Relations Officer of the Oistins Users Committee, Kema Harris. He says it's been an uphill struggle trying to catch fish this year. However, Harris says fisherfolk still have a lot to be thankful for. That's why they offered Barbadians free food, fish and drinks during the day, acknowledging their patronage over the years.
This fishing season this year was not the best. The fishermen are crying out, men that was in it for 30 years, 40 years, saying this is the worst fishing season that they ever had in their life. The vendors, the same way. You have people down here that were vendors for over 50, 60 years and they say they never saw nothing like this. But we still give God thanks for whatever we have.
The Barbados Light and Power Company spent $300 million on oil purchases to generate electricity last year. It's a figure which Managing Director Peter Williams says they cannot continue to pay. He says the BL&P is fully supportive of any effort to encourage Barbadians to use alternative sources of energy, whether it be wind, solar or waste. And Mr. Williams says with regard to generating energy from the byproducts of sugarcane, government must look at ways to heighten confidence in the sector. He says while government continues to subsidize the sugar industry, many people are not investing in cane farming or the maintenance of necessary equipment, and this must be addressed.
Confidence comes when you know you have a ready and willing buyer and someone you can trust and depend on over the long term. And that certainly, I think, is filled, that sort of criteria is filled by the electricity industry. The electricity industry is vital to Barbados and Barbados' well-being. And if there was a market, as it were, for cane and other biomass products that could be sold to produce energy, I think we would see that that confidence would return and people would come back into the industry.
A Barbadian is the 2011 Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association Employee of the Year. He is Rodney Howell, a worker at the Southern Palms Hotel in St. Lawrence Gap. Howell has been at that hotel for 12 years and is in charge of water sports activities. A favorite of guests staying there, Howell beat out hundreds of nominees from across the Caribbean after being nominated by management of the hotel.
It's nice, but I don't think it really sinking yet, because, this is a real big something, and, the whole Caribbean and stuff like that. So, really feel honored to be up on it and stuff like that, but it ain't really hit home yet. Barbados, I think, is the #1 place in the world on vacation-wise and stuff like that. Water sports, they have a lot of that. We got the good, the bad, and the ugly, but, it's still a nice place.
Well, the CHTA Employee of the Year award is presented to a person who exemplifies above-average technical competence and hospitality skills. Howell says he teaches guests all aspects of water sports.
Do like windsurfing and do some sailing and, all kind of different things, paddle surfing and tip tourists on the trip up in Catamaran up to how things are. So, just make them feel happy, water-wise.
Still to come, Jack Warner reacts to losing part of his portfolio. But first, the Quartz Quiz. In the Quartz Quiz tonight, what is the size of the Garrison area? It's 150 acres.
Across the Caribbean is brought to you with the compliments of CIBC First Caribbean.
Embattled Trinidad and Tobago MP Jack Warner has been reacting to being stripped of part of his portfolio in a recent cabinet reshuffle. More in this report.
In his new capacity as Works Minister, Jack Warner toured several districts in the southwestern peninsula today. The big question, how does he feel now that half of his portfolio has been taken away from him in the cabinet reshuffle, when he publicly stated a week ago, after resigning from FIFA, that he now has time to devote himself fully to what was then the Ministry of Works and Transport?
I am not prepared to say yea or nay to what has been decided by her, but what I do know is whatever I'm asked to do, I will do it to the best of my ability, based on the efforts and the help given by the Permanent Secretary and staff, and based on the collective efforts of all of us. You will see us performing as never before, whatever we are given to do. And whether we have to do, or all, the fact is whatever we do, we shall do well. Trust me on that one.
Mr. Warner says only the Prime Minister can answer why she chose to split the Ministry of Works and Transport, but he says it's a decision he'll abide by.
Well, there are some questions I think you should pose to Jack Warner, and questions you should pose elsewhere. And that is one you should put elsewhere. Because I can't answer that question. The Prime Minister, she is the best judge of what she thinks best for the country, and I will have to simply abide with that. I am always one who would take your sword and turn it into plowshares.
So has this in any way changed the relationship between the Prime Minister and Mr. Warner?
On the contrary, you saw us yesterday, we were very convivial and so on and amiable. Behind closed doors? So what behind closed doors, you mean behind closed doors?
Well, Jamaica's Prime Minister Bruce Golding has dropped Carl Samuda and Dorothy Lightburn from the cabinet and returned Clive Mullings to his former post as Mining and Energy Minister in his long-promised shuffle of the executive. Golding also named House Speaker Delroy Chuck as Minister of Justice and announced that that portfolio will be separated from that of Attorney General in keeping with the recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry into the government's handling of the U.S. extradition request for Christopher Koch. Mr. Golding also said that Agriculture and Fisheries Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton has been reassigned to the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, which was held by Samuda since the administration took office in September 2007. The vacancy created by Tufton's reassignment will be filled by Robert Montague, the minister without portfolio in the office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for local government. Minister of Tourism Edmund Bartlett says Jamaica should soon have direct flights to China, the fastest growing market for outbound travelers in the world. The Ministry of Tourism has reported that China's newly appointed ambassador to Jamaica gave a commitment to pursue the introduction of direct flights between Beijing and Montego Bay during a call on the minister yesterday. The release from the ministry stated the ambassador said he would be facilitating discussions with China Air to have the new flight arrangement implemented.
Across the Caribbean, brought to you with the compliments of CIBC First Caribbean.
Good evening, I am Mark Seal with your Lime Sports World. Several rain interruptions, then bad light only allowed just about a quarter of the day's play on day 2 of the second digital test, West Indies versus India at Kensington Oval here in Barbados. Those regular showers and fading light allowed only 25.3 overs. Now, following the removal of the overnight batsmen Devendra Bishu and Ramnaresh Sarwan, Marlon Samuels and Shivnarine Shandapal then showed discipline in an unbroken 41-run partnership to carry the Windies to 98 for 5 in reply to India's first innings score of 201. They're still 103 runs behind. Samuels is on 21 and Shandapal on 20, while Ishant Sharma so far has 3 for 31. There were a few highlights in the day.
Out, caught at gully. Well, it was going to come eventually. Out leg before. So Ishan Sharma strikes and the West Indies have lost 2 wickets in quick succession. And he's given him the width to crash it away.
Weather permitting, play will start half an hour early at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Live coverage will be on 94.7 FM. Now, the rain not only prevented play after lunch today, but it also became an inconvenience to some patrons on the 3rd and 2nd floors of the 3W stand as water came through the roof. CBC's Andy Thornhill has that story.
Pitter, patter, pitter, patter. The raindrops came tumbling down. And from all reports, patrons were forced to scatter. Comey staff was called in to clean up the water. Head of Comey, Henry Ennis, explained the reasons behind the leakage.
We had a situation where there's a drain that runs across the width of the 3W stand, and the area that is just above the President's Suite, the drain overflowed and came down through the roof. The water came down through the roof. So there was a bit of inconvenience for patrons, for which we are very sorry. And we have taken steps to get this problem fixed in the very near future. But some of it is not, we couldn't fix some of it today, but we'll work towards getting a solution in place in the fastest possible time.
Thanks, Mr. Ennis. That's the kind of assurance patrons would need, just in case it rains tomorrow. Andy Thornhill, CBC Sports.
Now, the decision to play this test match Tuesday to Saturday was strictly business. An additional $20 million from an extra test match was the main reason for the first 2 tests against India starting early in the week rather than near the weekend. Speaking to CBC Sports today, WICB Director Conde Riley said it was mainly about the money.
The Indian Series to the Caribbean is usually the most lucrative. If we had started on the weekend in Jamaica, we would have only been able to get in 2 test matches as opposed to the 3. And we negotiated through Taj Television, who looks after the negotiating for all of our satellite rights outside of the UK. And hence, because of our programs, we really needed to have this extra test match. And that's mainly the reason why we started on a Monday. In other words, the gear receipts, although we need that money, they're not as important as the satellite rights. And to have 3 tests instead of 2 was obviously the decision of the board. I think the difference would be about $20 million. So hence, rather than getting 40 million, we get close to 60 million.
Riley added that although the test match days clash with working hours, the turnout so far has still been somewhat satisfying.
We would like to see more, but we are conscious of the fact that it's a work weekdays, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I hope that we go down to Saturday and get all 5 days. And I'd say it's satisfying, especially the amount of school children that have turned out. As I said before, we gave 10% of the stadium to the 22 secondary schools, equally as about, 1,100 tickets. And they're responsible for the majority of the crowd in the Oval yesterday, and I'd say about half today.
The International Cricket Council's decision to slash the Minnows' representation at the next 2 World 2020 tournaments has sparked outrage among associate and affiliate nations who, after a heated emotional meeting today, have decided to lodge a protest at tomorrow's full ICC Council meeting in Hong Kong. The mood among cricket's less powerful members was a stark contrast to their initial response to the ICC decision yesterday, which is to restore associate representation in the 50-over World Cup on the one hand, while cutting the number of participating teams in the newest format from 16 to 12. The reduction in numbers is being informally talked of as the trade-off for the 4 extra berths in the 2015 World Cup. The ICC increased the number of teams for that event to 14. The 30 associate and 5 affiliate representatives representing 60 countries met this afternoon and decided to present their objections to the full council. Among the implications of the decision is that the qualification process, which already is underway, is now for just 2 spots at the World 2020 instead of 6. All 4 of Barbados' track and field athletes have gone through the first qualifying preliminary rounds with flying colors at the Special Olympics World Summer Games in Athens, Greece. 21-year-old Corey Kelman won the 200 meters in 24.59 seconds and finished second in the 400 meters in 59.2 in order to advance in both events. 21-year-old Nikita Maycock won her 100 prelim in a time of 14.59. 22-year-old Marvin Lord won his heat in the 200 in 24.06, while 27-year-old Natalie Daniel won her 100 prelim in 16.45 seconds. The quartet of Kelman, Maycock, Lord and Daniel took first place in their 4x100 meter relay preliminary in 53.48. Meanwhile, Justin Edwards and Laura Sobers in bocce and Rashad King in table tennis have also advanced to the second round in their disciplines. The Special Olympics World Summer Games run until July 4th. For the 2011 hockey season, Empire Club will have the use of new gear through a partnership with United Insurance. Sharon Allen Elcock, marketing manager of United Insurance, presented the club's treasurer and senior player Nicole Brathwaite with a sponsorship check and also presented the club with their uniforms. Aline Elcock says the sponsorship is in keeping with their community outreach program.
We knew the sort of contribution the club, Empire on a whole, has made to the fabric of Barbadian society. We know, of course, that the hockey club is also a winning club, which is very important for us, because as a leading insurance company in Barbados and in the region, we would love to be associated with winners. We recognize that it's not just our duty to ensure, no pun intended, that we provide great insurance products and services, that we have great claim service, that when that time comes, we protect you. As we say, you're in safe hands with United, but we think it's very important as well for us to contribute to the community, and sponsorship of the Empire Club is going to definitely allow us to be a major contributor to the sporting community in Barbados.
That's sports. Wednesday's business is up next.
Good evening, I'm Kent Jerson and this is the Business Report. Now, the unavailability of an annual $400,000 grant from government has made difficult economic conditions more challenging for small hotels. Chairman of Intimate Hotels of Barbados, Jeff Kinch, made the point while speaking at the organization's annual general meeting at the Lloyd Erskine Sandyford Center. The money was part of a $2 million marketing fund established by government for the small hotel grouping to be disbursed over 5 years.
With limited funds, the marketing program of the Intimate Hotels of Barbados has been streamlined, and we have been conscious with our spend. As was expected, the annual marketing grant of $400,000 ended in our current financial year. The BTA has committed to continuing this fund, but it has not been determined yet in these circumstances that we need to be frugal in the selection of our marketing initiatives.
Mr. Kinch adds that the performance of the hotels has been mixed.
Some of our properties recorded occupancies in excess of 70% during the winter season. Despite positive increases recorded for the period above, some smaller properties have been experiencing low occupancy while their operational costs continue to rise.
Members of the Intimate Hotels Group also got to hear from Chairman of the Barbados Tourism Authority, Adrian Elcock. He reaffirmed his organization's commitment to doing all it can to ensure tourism and, by extension, hoteliers are successful.
As my friend Colin told me last week when we had an animated discussion on the same point, at the end of the day, we have to make sure that Barbados and Barbadians are not disadvantaged. And I got the point very clearly from him that we are at a critical point right now where we're in danger of the industry, the private sector industry, having to make some very tough decisions about their operation. It puts a little bit more pressure on David, Rice, and myself, but I assure you that we're up to the task of trying to help find workable solutions to the issues.
In other news, we are hearing that the door is not yet closed to store owners at the Grantley Adams International Airport who have defaulted on rent payments. This has been revealed by the airport's Chief Operating Officer, Joseph Johnson. In March, 2 stores, Aunt Polly's Gift and Floral Inc. and Travel Essentials, had their doors chained and padlocked because of outstanding rent. According to the airport's management, they owe a combined total of over $400,000 in unpaid rent.
The shops have not been totally closed. We are still in the process, so we have not been going out as yet to ask for persons to be interested in those particular establishments. The process takes some time. It's not overnight. We have expressions of interest and persons wanting to come in, but we have not put out any tenders or anything like that. We are just examining all of our options at this particular time.
Now we take a brief look at the stocks. Here's a summary of today's trading on some of the region's exchanges.